listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's Real World After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Real World After Show.
Yo, what up, AfterBuzzers? It's your boy DJ Jesse Janedy. Bing is for doing, and we are here doing another AfterBuzz TV After Show for the Real World St. Thomas, Season 27, Episode 3, Roommates Become Bedmates. I mean, it's been that for the past 3 episodes. It's just like, I feel like this is The Notebook, just made into a TV series. It's like a tale of love stories. We're gonna get straight into it. We have a lot. I know you guys are like, hey, where did everybody go? You guys were complaining about all of the hosts here, so we just got rid of them, and it's me. I'm just kidding. DirecTV wanted to play some games. Apparently, we don't have Viacom going, so I had to watch it live. I was a little upset because I'd rather watch it East Coast time. But we're here. We're making it happen. We have Steve the Steamer on the line. Steve, you there?
Yeah, I am. What's going on?
Steamer, how you doing, bud?
Not too bad. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I actually I think I have some high hopes for this season from tonight's episode, and I'll explain why in a second. If you don't know Steamer is like the Real World Road Rules Challenge like expert, and people love you so much, Steamer. You saw we have a Stump the Steamer question for you. We'll ask that later on.
Heard.
All right. So what did you think of tonight's episode?
I thought it was pretty good. I like that they advanced the two of the storylines involving the couples. I mean, they didn't do much with Swifty, but I guess we'll get there at some point.
We will. And so, I mean, basically, I don't know. To me, the first 2 episodes were really slow. I was kind of confused with where they're going with who some of the characters are, how they're going to make this season entertaining. And part of me is wondering if it's more the editing of this that MTV's doing, or is it the actual characters? I just want to say I really love Brandon. I just think there's so much there with this character, and I mean, honestly, I've been looking at a lot of these guys, their Twitter pages, and I just think he's probably one of the most normal guys, and he just is on national television showing his emotions. I don't know, I really like his storyline that we're gonna be getting into. What were your thoughts of Brandon this episode?
He wasn't really in this episode too much, I noticed, but overall, like, he reminds me of Frank last year, like, who had all these problems, but at the same time came across as, like, real. Like, he wasn't, like, faking who he was. He was just being himself, which on this show, like, I respect, because I don't really like the people who go out of their way to make themselves a character. Just be yourself, and if you're that guy, you'll be entertaining.
Johnny Bananas. Exactly. And then, going into it, even though we don't really see a lot of Swift, I feel like his whole characteristics, I don't know, there's something about him that I like, and I really like LaToya. I think that McDonald's needs to get a hold on this girl after her little chicken nugget segment she had tonight. It's hot. It's wet. It's chicken nuggets. So I think
how that'll play for McDonald's, but
yeah, so
pretty entertaining.
I think we need to get her involved with some commercials and whatnot. And then I'm sitting here and I'm wondering because to me, Robb and Marie, their whole storyline is so similar to Dustin and Heather. I just keep seeing Dustin and Heather, and I know I shouldn't because it's a new cast. And if you guys are out there watching, I see on Twitter you guys are saying this is the best cast ever. I would love for you to call in and let us know why you think this is the best cast. 424-256-1729. And hopefully we're getting Trey to call in too as well tonight. But let's actually, before we get him on the phone, I want to talk to you about Trey. I know we have Adam up in here usually showing how much he appreciates Trey. But I don't know if I like this whole storyline. I didn't like it at first, but they slept together. And to me, it's just like Swift said, you did it too early. It's going to cause too much drama. And Laura seems very stalkerish. It could be the editing, because we all know that MTV is just amazing at creating things that aren't really there. But she seems very stalkerish. What do you think about that, Steamer?
She definitely does. I mean, like when Swift tells Trey, like, she's going to be more clingy, and Trey's like, that's not what I wanted. Well, have you seen how she's acting around you? Like, she's obviously going to be more clingy, because after you sleep with her, she's just going to feel more attached to you.
Exactly. And let's ask him right now, because Trey, we have you on the line.
Yeah, I'm here, guys.
What is going on, sir? How are you doing tonight?
Trey.
I'm doing all right, man. How you guys doing?
We are doing super. We are welcome to AfterBuzz. And now this, I mean, basically this season so far is, I mean, you are one of the main characters going on here. They're focusing a lot on you, Laura, Marie, and Robb. I felt it was going to be more so Brandon, but Brandon took the first episode, and then it kind of shifted over to these love stories that we have going on here. Going into the house, here you are. Initial thoughts and reactions. I mean, this is obviously something new. You've never been in a house before with 7 strangers with cameras around you. Was it awkward getting adjusted to it? Were you sitting there wondering, like, should I be doing this? Should I be talking to her? These cameras are here. I mean, what was your experience walking into the house, like inside Trey's head?
Well, I appreciate you, first of all, pointing out the fact that our situation is anything but realistic. In fact, it should probably be called the unreal world, because it's not realistic to throw 7 random strangers on an island, live in this ginormous house, strip away television, music, any form of entertainment whatsoever, restrict their web access, and all these other things. So you guys are throwing us, or you guys, not you guys, but, you know, we're thrown into this extreme situation, pretty much about as extreme as you can get. And, you know, you bond really quickly. I've said in previous interviews, the days are extremely long, so you feel like you get to know your roommates faster than you would normally get to know people, I guess, that you would meet out at a bar in your hometown. And, you know, I hear you guys. Actually, the entire way that I stumbled onto AfterBuzz was actually because, you know, I was Googling the Real World St. Thomas. I saw it on YouTube, and I did watch your guys' first 2 episodes, and you had Adam on, and you had Leroy on. And Leroy was really cool, you know. He was really humble. He kept it real. Yes. You know, he gave us his honest opinions, but I didn't really think that Leroy crossed the line too much. With Adam a little bit, and I know everybody's interested to get my feelings on Adam. Adam is a part of my dysfunctional real-world family now. We're all this ginormous family. We understand that as soon as we're done filming. And I understand that Adam's character, for lack of a better term, if you will, is just this raw, uncensored guy who just constantly gives you his feelings, you know, all the time, and he doesn't filter anything. But when I hear everybody talk about, you know, there's no attractive people on this season, we're all ugly, or we're all boring, or we're all coupled up, you know, we can't really control the way that Become Murray or MTV edits us. We were funny at times. Let me tell you how many times I've hung out with LaToya one-on-one, or I hung out with Swift one-on-one, or I even hung out with Brandon one-on-one. But they're not showing you that. They're showing you Laura and I. So you guys are getting slightly upset, and maybe not you personally, but some of the viewers are getting slightly upset that this is looking like couples retreat. But I can't control the way that they made that look. Our days in the Caribbean are the same as days there in L.A. and the same as days here in Baltimore. They're 24 hours long. And we're recorded 24/7.
Now, are you guys able to leave the house at any time, or are there certain times where the boat brings you over to the main island?
You know, I can't really talk too much details right now because of my contract. You know, I can't really get into personal details. But to talk about the boating situation, sure, I can comment on that. You know, we have to basically have boat captains drive us back and forth to the mainland of St. Thomas. So if there's not a boat captain there, then we can't get off the island. So let me let you guys in on that as well. There's sometimes where we're trapped in our house on our island, and then there's sometimes when we're stuck on St. Thomas and we can't get back to the house, which makes it extremely difficult. This season was a giant unique twist on the real world in general. You don't have a rental car like they did in Brooklyn and back to San Diego. You can't just walk up the street to your gym. You have to call for a boat. And if that boat is broke or if that boat captain is not there, you're stuck. Well, and they don't care.
And it's also interesting.
You know what I mean?
Because we also cover, and especially Steamer, he's a big challenge fan. You know, the one thing that, and actually Steamer brought it up to me, that with the challenges, here they are where they take a whole bunch of you, though. It's not just 7 of you, it's a whole bunch of you, and they put you on a secluded island. So you're right, it is interesting that they only took 7 people and put you guys on an island. And then even tonight, I mean, I wrote it down. I mean, the girls must have been pissed. If you guys are going out someplace to be and want to wear heels and it's raining outside, you have to get on a boat. It almost would make me, personally, I would want to stay in. I'd be like, well, forget the club. I'm not getting on a boat to go get drunk and just be wet. And so, I mean, I definitely understand being stuck inside the house. And now you guys are able to bring people back. And I know you have somebody who we've been witnessing. You've been making phone calls back to this girl, Chelsea, back home. But initially, when you went in there, I mean, obviously, we see you with Laura. Were there certain people in the house that you bonded with right away? Because, I mean, also with MTV, what we see in 3 episodes could have just been 2 days. Were there people that you didn't really bond as well with? Or why did you and Laura automatically just connect? What was it that you two had over anyone else in the house? Because it looks like it's just you guys always like walking off together, and then they'll show clips of you guys with other people, but I mean the majority of it is, I mean, this love story that you guys got going on.
Right. I think you guys will probably know episode 2, Laura and I, we take a stroll down the beach for the first time, and you'll see in LaToya's cutscene interview, she's like, I'm thinking to myself, it's only day 2, and they're already strolling up and down the beach. That was literally like a 5-minute walk that Laura and I took, and I didn't think that was a crime, that I wanted to walk with Laura, some girl that I was interested in, to get to know a little bit better. That wasn't me being Zach and Ashley from last season. That was me just trying to get to know one of my new roommates that I was personally attracted to. In terms of first impressions, yeah, Brandon and I weren't that close in the beginning. Obviously, with the jealousy issues and the insecurity issues that were looming over, the Laura situation, it was kind of nearly impossible to get close to Brandon in the beginning. I felt like he was being really standoffish. I felt like he was making himself the outcast in the beginning, and I personally felt like he wasn't somebody that I could honestly approach like I could maybe a Swift or somebody who seemed a little more laid back. So, yeah, you're going to see these different interpersonal relationships, but again, not to comment too much on production because, I'm not really supposed to get into it, but I can't control what they show you guys and what they don't show you guys. So it kind of sucks for me. I heard you say something, Jesse, about the first 2 episodes being a little slow. It's taking the storylines a little bit to get out. I said the same thing to Laura. When we watched our first episode, she was like, what do you think? I like it. And I was like, honestly, I think it sucks. And the same thing about our trailer. I thought our trailer sucked. There was like a million other things that they could have put in our trailer that would have been funny as shit, and you guys would have loved it, and it would have been funny, and it would have been humorous, and you guys would have got a kick out of it and been like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And instead, they show the 3 girls puking off the side of the sailboat, and everybody's like, it's too much puke. This looks stupid. They're too happy, whatever. So you guys got to remember, I don't think that we're a boring season. I don't think that we're an ugly season. I don't think that we're one of the worst seasons or we're uninteresting. I think that that's what they're showing you guys, and that's unfortunate because there's a lot more to us than that. And like I said, I hear Adam come on these shows, and he kind of rags on our cast a little bit, and I'm sitting there like, man, where are your credentials though? Like, you got kicked off of your season. Like, you didn't even get to see the duration of your season. So yeah, like you are one of these guys that stands out. People remember Adam. Adam is definitely a predominant character. I'm not going to take that away from him because I give respect where respect is due. People know who he is, but at the same token, he's an asshole. And, this is why he gets to come on AfterBuzz, and this is why he does all these shows, is because he gives us these raw, uncensored, unfiltered comments. But the reality is, like, he has no, like, room, basically, to really come at me and tell me that I'm ugly or that Laura's ugly. I've seen Nani in person, like, and I love Nani. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to talk shit on Nani, but seriously, like, for him to say that Laura's unattractive but Nani's attractive, like, I've seen both of them girls in real life. Laura and Nani, they're neck and neck, and that's me being real. And I've seen both girls. Adam hasn't seen Laura in real life, so he can't say that. So I just wanted to comment on that a little bit. I'm not mad at Adam. I'm not mad at you. I'm just saying in general, like, I listen to the AfterBuzz shows. I hear the criticisms, but you guys aren't in our position. Even though Adam's been on a previous Real World, he wasn't on the Real World St. Thomas. So he doesn't know what it's like to be stuck on an island. He doesn't know what it's like to have to call for a boat or to be coupled up, you know what I mean, in this love shack, if you will. So, you know, I don't know, Jeff. It's however you guys want to make it. It's whatever MTV's showing you.
Well, I mean, for the most part, here at AfterBuzz, and just in general as a fan before AfterBuzz, I mean, I've watched The Real World pretty much almost every season. And it always kind of happens the same. If you go back to our San Diego cast, and we actually did the whole season with the cast from it. It's very slow at first. There's not really much to talk about, and then the drama comes, and that's why actually for me, I mean, I'm a huge reality TV buff. I love the drama. I love seeing people raw emotions out on TV because that's real to me, because it's not a natural setting to be put into a house and put onto reality TV. We're not made for that because we're humans. We have our own, personal things that we do on a day-to-day basis. So if you have cameras that are recording that 24/7, people, we look at Beyonce and all these famous stars and we think they're perfect, but we only see what they want us to see. With you guys, right, we see everything that you do. Good, the bad, right, and unfortunately, the good stuff that you do probably won't air because it's not entertaining. But,
yeah, unfortunately, you're right.
But I mean, coming into it, I mean, honestly, because what happened was watching this episode, I started looking at the characters and also how MTV is casting you guys, and I think that this is very slow for you guys, and I started looking at your personalities a little more, and I mean, honestly, I think you are going to be more of a character for the challenges coming up. Thinking about the new guys moving into the challenges, I see that you being a bigger key player in something like that. Here we are, you're athletic. We don't see the brotherhood you have with Robb or Swift. All we're seeing is you with Laura.
Right.
And so, I mean, you go into this, you have this girl smut. So let's talk about it. From what we've seen so far, explain to us what you wanted us to see from the moment that, you got to the island to where we are now. What was Trey's reality?
Sure, and thanks for asking, because this is actually something that I talked to Laura about, actually when we were still in St. Thomas, when we were still in the Virgin Islands. I think I sat back one day, and it was probably a couple weeks into filming, and I looked at her, and I was like, do you realize that my entire storyline being out here is going to be surrounded by you and Chelsea, my relationships with you and Chelsea? And I was so kind of pissed off about it, even though I kind of did it to myself, because I did spend a lot of time with Laura, and, I did have, personal phone conversations with Chell a lot. Right. It sucked because I was a college athlete, and being in the Virgin Islands, there was no place to play American football. Just like Zach, he played football, and some of the other previous cast members, they played sports. Maybe somewhere out in San Diego, you can go out and you can play catch and you can do all these things. I mean, on the island of St. Thomas, there was no football. Laura actually brought one to the house. We played catch in the front yard, but there was really nowhere to showcase what I was about, what Trey's about as an athlete, as a person. So it was unfortunate, but, the relationships that I had with a girl in the house and then a girl back at home became my storyline. And a lot of people didn't really get to hear so much about my father and my upbringing. You hear a little bit about it, but not so much. You guys didn't really get to see my athletic ability. The most you'll see me do is kayak, and I mean, that's not really all that. So for me, what I wanted fans to see was how funny I could be, how deep of a person I am, how athletic I am, how carrying I am. But like you said, the only thing that they're showing is Laura and I. And I understand that, when you see these, dramatic relationships unfold on television, it locks the viewer in. And, they're either going to like it or they're not. But for me, it just kind of sucks a little bit because I'm way deeper of a person than that. And, I hope that eventually that gets out. So I don't know if you guys caught the previews, and next week It looks like it's going to be a little bit more laughs. They're going to show a little bit more of Swift, which I commented on my Twitter today as well. You know, Swift got no shine in tonight's episode, so I'm definitely hoping that, you know, Swift starts getting some more airtime. I think that they will, because it looks like you guys are going to see one of the pranks that went down with the fish, and then, you know, a little bit about him being in the water and LaToya and Marie bitching back and forth. So I think that next week is definitely going to bring the drama in a different sense. You guys are going to see more of the prank wars. You're going to see somebody else in the house get upset for once, not me or Brandon. And, you know, hopefully that'll start intriguing people a little bit more, because we've also had the unfortunate events of having our show air on the 4th of July night, which put ratings down. And then the ESPYs aired tonight, so I know half the people were watching ESPYs, and DirecTV dropped Viacom. So our ratings are down, and there's nothing we can do about it, you know?
No, but I mean, at the end of the day, MTV puts them up on the website the day after. I mean, that, you know, that's how I will always catch it. I mean, and then you have, it's the real world. You guys have been on for 27 seasons.
Right.
We get it. You know, the way that they edit the stories, it's kind of all within the same. But before I get to my next question with you, you guys used a lot of kayaks in this episode, and maybe the viewers at home, you guys want to buy a kayak. Well, there's an easy way to do that. All you have to do is go to AfterBuzzTV.com. You'll see at the top of the page, it's an Amazon link. You click that button, and it'll bring you to Amazon.com. Type in kayak. Purchase a kayak. It's no extra cost. It just helps us here at AfterBuzz keep the lights on. So AfterBuzzTV.com, Amazon button, click it. Before I ask a question, Steamer, I know you're on the line. Are there any questions you personally have for Trey?
Yeah, I always love when like the cast members like try to represent their hometown. And tonight we heard you say to Marie, like talking about you're from Baltimore. What do you want to represent about Baltimore the most? Like, what's the attitude that you want to convey from Baltimore?
That's awesome that you asked, man. I really appreciate that. And, you know, I think that we all kind of have this hometown feel, that we all kind of want to put our hometowns on the map. You know, LaToya wants to put Petersburg, Virginia on the map, and Rob from Bensalem, Pennsylvania, you know, he wants to put them on the map. For Baltimore, Baltimore is a city that everybody knows. You know, we have the Baltimore Ravens, we have the Baltimore Orioles. You know, we have major sports teams, but it is a smaller city. It's not your New York City or Philadelphia or anything like that. It's a smaller city, but it has a little bit of everything. A couple of years ago, I went out to Lexington, Kentucky to visit this girl, and I was doing my hair in the bathroom, and she came in, and she kind of looked at me funny, and then she made a comment about me being a Guido. And I was trying to explain to her, because she's from, I don't know if you consider Kentucky the South, but I was trying to tell her, we don't really have Guidos in Baltimore. Baltimore doesn't really have Guidos. This is just how I do my hair. I put paste in my hair. I try to mess it up a little bit. Baltimore definitely, it's just like a blue-collar town. You know, you hear about the Pittsburgh Steelers because they had a steel mill. Well, Baltimore had, you know, Bethlehem Steel, which was also a steel mill. And it provided jobs for hundreds of thousands of workers in Baltimore. Chances are your grandfather or somebody that you know worked there. So Baltimore is definitely a blue-collar town. It has its bad parts. A lot of people know about our crime rate in the city, like Cherry Hill. It's not the greatest area, but then we have some great areas like Towson, Maryland, which is in Baltimore County. And, you know, that I think was ranked one of the top 5 colleges in the country in terms of the hottest chicks, which I can attest to. They're definitely attractive. So, you know, Baltimore has a little bit of everything. You have the city, you have the county, and if you think about Maryland as a whole, you have Western Maryland, which has the mountains where you can go snowboarding, but then the Eastern Shore and the eastern part of Maryland has Ocean City, which is the beach, and you can go surfing. So Maryland has all 4 seasons. It's got every different type of, you know, demographic and geography, you know, whatever you want to throw out there, man. Baltimore and Maryland in general is just a great place to live. And, yeah, I do try to throw out Baltimore a little bit when I'm talking. I see you guys catch that. But it's a great place to live, man. It's just very diverse.
Excellent.
Now wasn't Ty from the Philadelphia season from Baltimore?
Ty was from the D.C. season, yeah, and he was from Baltimore City. And then I believe I heard that Mike Ross from back to Vegas, he went to the University of Maryland, but he's actually from Northern Virginia. So I don't know if you want to consider him. And then I've heard that Cook, who eventually went on when Adam got kicked off to back to Vegas, I think that she's from Maryland. I think I looked that up, but she's not from Baltimore. She's from Southern Maryland, I think. But yeah, there's very few of us. Maryland's a smaller state.
Oh, look at you!
Have you had a chance to talk to any of them, or no? Just
I talked to Ty on Twitter maybe like once. You know, I shot him a comment and just said, "Hey, man, you know, I actually was just extending a, you know, kind of like a little congratulations. I was just like, hey, man, you know, you paved the way for Baltimore, dude. You know, I'm only the second guy from Baltimore on the show, man, but you know, it's just pretty much us two representing the city. If you ever want to get together, and I think he said, yeah, he'd be cool with that. you know, I actually went out for the Real World DC. So Ty actually, I wouldn't say that Ty took my place. I was only 19 at the time that I went out, but I went out for the Real World DC, and then, you know, evidently, obviously, Ty got on from, he was from Baltimore, so, you know, he represented our city and went on to be in the challenge, and everybody knows who he is, so that's
So
cool.
is this how many times have you tried for the Real World? Is this your second?
That was my only time. That was my only time. Once in college, I was 19. I went out for the Real World. In the beginning, they do not tell you what city it is. They're just telling you, you know, this is what you're casting for. So I found out eventually that it was D.C., and then I found out eventually that a guy from Baltimore got on, and I was so pissed at first. You know, I heard that it was Ty, and I was just like, man, you know, this sucks. This should have been me. But, you know, a couple years later, you know, I wasn't really interested in it anymore. And then my boy Nick Freeman, who I went to college with, he was actually on Love Games Season 3 with Judy and all those crazy girls, man. He was on Love Games, and that's produced by Become Bedmates as well. So he got in a little bit with production, told me that he felt like I should try out for the show, and I went to another casting call, and then obviously you guys see me on St. Thomas cast, so that's how it worked.
And what made you want to go on the Real World? Like, what? I mean, this is what always makes me, you know, blows my mind. Because when I was younger, I guess I did have the thought of wanting to do it. More so the challenges, because it looks more fun to like be doing something versus just living with people. But I know here at AfterBuzz, I love being on camera. I love talking to viewers and watching this stuff. But to go into something knowing everything is going to be recorded. I mean, I'm sure you know. Whether you're into television, reality TV or not, I'm sure you know going into this could be edited. And I know the contracts you guys signed too, so I know what they say. Going into it and reading something like that, were you scared at all, or just not scared, but more so like, what am I doing? Am I really doing this right now? Like, what made you want to really put yourself out there like that?
I mean, you realize when you sign that contract that you're basically signing your life away. But to have the opportunity to sign a contract with MTV or with Become Bedmates and realize that you're going to be on, you know, what is the longest-running reality television show in American history, I mean, to be a part of that family, it's something that it's really hard to say no to. I don't think a lot of people would turn that down. I know there are people that would, but there's not many. A lot of people would love to take that. I see so many tweets and responses from the fans like, oh, Trey, can you give me pointers or advice on going out for the show? I've been trying to do this for years, because everybody realizes that this is one of those rare opportunities to change your life as a normal person. You know, you don't have to be like a Tom Cruise or a Johnny Depp or whatever and go to acting school and pay all this money and move here and move there. You literally can still be yourself, live in your same house, you work your same job, and it's like winning the lottery. You know, you get picked, and then overnight your life has changed, and now you're a huge public figure to a national audience that's being viewed by millions of people on a network, MTV, that everybody's familiar with. It's an awesome opportunity. So that alone, I mean, it markets itself. They don't really have to even advertise it. People are always going to want to be on the Real World. For me personally, again, just to kind of piggyback off of that, I knew that it would change my life. And I knew that no matter what I wanted to do after this experience, now people know who I am. And I felt like people would be excited to bring me into their place of business. You know, you can do promotions, and they're like, hey, Trey from the Real World's here. And it's kind of like when you become a doctor, and you can throw PhD at the end of your name. Or when you write an email, you say, my name is Dr. This, because you earned it. And you spent all that time earning that. For me to now be able to walk around and say, hey, I'm Trey from the Real World, it's something that, you know, some people will look at you and laugh, and they're like, yeah, you're on a stupid reality show. But other people really do kind of respect that, and it adds a little bit of spice to the conversation. They're like, oh, hey, what's up? And then, you know, you always have something to talk about. So for me, I feel like it's kind of like boosting a resume, you know? It's kind of like, you know, that's me being honest. You know, I just feel like it's kind of cool, man. It's kind of cool to admit that you did that, and it's a rare opportunity. So
you went into it more so, not saying you did it business-wise, but with that type of a mentality. But what did it do for you? How did it change you mentally, like as a person, with living with 7 people? Or have you, you know, maybe you went to a college and grew up in a frat house, or maybe you have 7 brothers or sisters. But what type of an experience was this mentally for you that you realized about yourself or other people, and on that note of it?
Sure. Well, I told LaToya this one time in a conversation, because I had never lived with an African-American female. and I didn't really know how different that was going to be. In college, I did live with 6 other people, but they were all white guys, and they were all my football teammates. We all lived in the same house, so it's different to live with 6 other guys just like you that play the same sport, and you're on the same team, and you're going to the same playbook meetings or whatever, as opposed to living with 6 other random people, different races, different ethnicities, different sexes, and, you know, you guys are from different parts of, you know, the country. Huge learning experiences. You know, Adam and Leroy, they were just on your show. They can attest to that. I think that every Real World season can. You're going to learn an immense amount of life lessons from people that you would normally not have lived with in any other scenario. So you open yourself up to that. And, you know, I got to share a little bit about my past with my roommates, and then I learned a lot about them. You know, Rob is a really, really deep guy. You guys see him kind of beating himself up with the phone and punching himself in the face, you know, in the trailer and stuff, but you guys still haven't gotten to the story of why Rob does that. You know, you hear a little bit about Brandon, you know, writing in his journal, kill me, I want to die, and he did admit his addiction, but there's still a lot about Brandon's story you guys haven't heard. So when you start thinking that your life is deep and you've dealt with all this turmoil in your life and you've had it hard growing up, but then you meet somebody like Rob or Brandon or whoever, you know, there's other people in the house with deep stories, you start realizing you're like, wow, man, I'm not that crazy. I'm not that far-fetched of a person. You know, this is other people really do go through extreme scenarios, and look, they ended up in the same place I did. We're all sharing a house together. So you have to learn to live with other people who have different tendencies as well. For instance, spoiler alert, but Rob and Marie like barely fucking cleaned, and I clean all the time. So that in itself becomes a huge you know, a huge ordeal. You know, you'll see a sink piled full of dirty dishes, and you're like, yo, you know, your mom doesn't live here to clean up after you. You're going to wash your dish? And then they're going to make a big deal about it and be like, oh, well, we're on vacation. I'm not washing any dishes. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Then I'll wash your dish. And, you know, and then you start a little petty argument over it. So you have to learn, you know, you do learn huge life lessons, but then you get into those petty arguments as well when you have a difference in how you go about your lifestyle. So, yeah, you definitely learn a lot. And, you know, that is another reason why I wanted to go out for the show, though, Jesse. It's not just, you know, for credentials and business reasons. It's definitely to learn about myself and then learn about other people as well.
Excellent. I want to actually give you actually said my favorite quote of the night tonight. It takes a lot for me to write down a quote from a reality TV show, and I wrote one down tonight. But before we do that, guys, iTunes, you guys are watching us on YouTube. We totally appreciate it, but we're also on iTunes. You can download, subscribe to the Real World AfterBuzz TV After Show, and it's so much easier now because there's actually an app for it. So you download the app. You can subscribe to us, rate us, comment, leave us your comments. We really appreciate it. You leave them on the YouTube. We would totally appreciate you helping us out on the iTunes, getting us up to on the front page of iTunes. A lot of our other shows are doing it right now. Come on, guys, like JWoww and Snooki is getting there, and Real World's not. Problem. Let's change that. iTunes, YouTube, thank you guys so much. But download, subscribe to us. But Trey, yes, you said one of my favorite quotes, and actually this really like started, you know, making me look at you a little differently. You wrote, sometimes living in the moment is an excuse to fuck something good you already have going. And right. That's so true. I mean, and I think a lot of people going into these reality shows go in thinking, you know what, I'm just going to do this. I'm here for the one time. You know, you made that comment, but then do you feel that you lived in the moment when you slept with Laura?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, man. You know, I definitely look extremely hypocritical by going ahead and hooking up with Laura. You know, that's a little bit more the case of me thinking with my dick at the time, which I think a lot of guys are, you know, guilty of in their own personal life. I'm not one to judge, but yeah, you know, I got caught up with Laura. I knew eventually that was probably going to happen. But basically, when I was saying,
and now, how soon? Before, I'm sorry to cut you off. How soon was that? Because to us, we look at it like, oh, it could be a week into 3 days.
Right. I think it was within the first week or two, but I know that with Laura, she wasn't one to just go right at it. You know, even though you guys are seeing her come on to me really strong, she does have a lot of self-respect for herself. She does have morals, you know, and she wasn't just willing to just do that. You know, there were plenty of other times where, you know, we were intimately making out and trying to have sex with her, I knew was not going to happen. So Laura definitely, you know, she held off for a little bit, but we were sexually attracted to one another, and I think we both knew that it was only a matter of time before it happened. When you hear me say, living in the moment is sometimes used as an excuse to fuck over somebody that you care about. I meant that a lot. And the reason why I really said that, though, is because I had a conversation with Marie sitting out on the wall earlier that night, and you guys kind of saw it a little bit, but you didn't hear the entire conversation. Right. Of course, Marie was intoxicated, as she was the entire episode. But, Marie was basically trying to tell me in that conversation, she said, it was our conversation about roles. And it was our conversation about what character in the house we were supposed to be. And that's why you guys are hearing me talking about pulling girls and bringing girls back. Because when I casted for The Real World, and it's in my biography right now on MTV.com, I said that I was a man whore, and I was in college. I was constantly bringing random girls back to my house, having sex with them, getting another one the next. I was pretty disgusting. It was pretty bad. And basically, when I met Chelsea, I was starting to settle down a little bit, and I was finally exclusively dating one person. And even though we weren't titled, that we were not boyfriend and girlfriend.
And
it
how
Facebook
long was that? How long were you in Chelsea?
That?
How long were you and Chelsea speaking with each other?
We were talking for a couple months before that. We talked in January of last year. We stopped talking in about March or April, and then she was single all summer. And then Chelsea was actually in an accident. She has third-degree burns up the right side of her body. She's slightly scarred. And after her accident, she was in the hospital getting surgery, and I texted her while she was in surgery, which was more towards November of last year. And I was basically being apologetic, and I was kind of making amends, because that's one of those cases where you start realizing that life's a little bit more important than your petty disagreements. So Chelsea and I were not talking at the time, but I texted her, and then, after she got better, we started talking again. And, it was probably a month before I left for The Real World. So we didn't really have that much time to establish a solid foundation or a solid base for me to just be obligatory, dedicated to her. And that's why when she knew that I got The Real World, she knew that she didn't want to hold me back. I didn't want to hold me back. But we were still kind of confused, because we both really had strong feelings for each other. So she signed a release form to be able to talk to me while I was out there. And that's why you guys still have these phone conversations, and we're sharing emails. But she knew about Laura right in the beginning. I told her. I'm completely honest with her. I told her about Laura.
So you told her more
talking to Emily.
You told her more in depth than what we saw on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, you guys only see, like I said, a 15-second snippet of a conversation that probably took place for an hour. So that's what I was trying to tell you about Marie and our conversation on the wall. Marie is trying to tell me to own my role. She thought that my role in the house was to be Laura's boyfriend. That's what Marie thought. Marie wanted me to own the fact that Laura's coming on to me, and I'm attracted to Laura, and I should just own it. I should stop trying to fight it. Don't pretend like I'm going to bring girls back, because she doesn't think I'm going to. She thinks that I'm going to just be up Laura's ass the entire time, and I just need to own it. I just need to, take care of it. And I basically, I disagreed with her, and, what you see is, just me hooking up with Laura, but just an immense amount of being confused. And I go back and I tell Laura that I didn't want to be in a relationship with her. I didn't want to just go all the way with her and just be committed to only her. Right. When they're trying to tell me to live in the moment, and I'm just like, yeah, but you know what? And Chelsea's eventually going to see this on TV, and then when I go home, and Laura lives in Nebraska, which is over 20 hours away, and I'm back home, and Chelsea's 10 minutes up the street. Now I can't see the person who knows me the best, who knows me better, because I screwed her over when I was in the Virgin Islands for 3 months, knowing that the real world is not going to be forever. And that's what you said, Jesse. You realize that when we go on these reality shows, it's only a couple months, and then we go back to our real lives. And I knew that eventually I was going to leave that house in the Virgin Islands, and I was going to have to go back home to Baltimore, and I knew Chelsea was going to be there, and I knew that Laura wasn't. And that's where that mentality was coming from, is that I didn't want to just screw over Chelsea for Laura, because Laura's here now in front of me, knowing that eventually I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to have to face Chelsea. So, yeah, I hooked up with Laura. Again, that was me thinking with my dick. I'm guilty. We've all kind of been there before, done that. But, I really did mean it when I said it, though. I really did.
And now this next topic, Trey, feel free to speak in when you can or if you can
Sure.
to anything we talk about. Steamer, I want to get your topic on this, because it's really interesting. Trey, you just said that Marie said, play your role. And this is something I talk about. Two of my favorite shows on TV are The Real World and Bad Girls Club. And more so with Bad Girls Club, I notice a lot of girls going in and playing the role of a past bad girl castmate. And they come onto the show and they try to imitate that. Sometimes I see it with The Real World. but more so playing the cookie cutter version of it. Well, I'm the blonde on the show. I need to play this type of a person. Well, we're the romantic kind. You know, Zach and Ashley last season, we thought they were just trying to make America fall in love with them because of this relationship, and they saw people like the relationship. So, you know, they figured that would be a good little mold for them. Steamer, what do you think? I mean, so now Trey just basically said that his relationship with Laura wasn't, you know, it was candid. They made it seem a lot more than what it was. You know, he was still honest with Chelsea back home. Steamer, do you think Robb and Marie kind of are playing the roles?
I mean, if you think about it, they're sort of like cast to be together. I mean, they had the whole matching tattoos. They were paired to go together to the island. So I think it's just not the first person you meet and you have that random tattoo thing in common. You have the inclination to want to be with them or hook up with them or what have you. So I think it's just natural. I mean, especially if you watch the show in the past, you see how it goes and you see how you think it should be happening. So I don't know. It's just the way it happens.
Because what's really interesting is watching this, you know, again, I'm always thinking about what's the future going to hold. And, you know, the top of my notes, I wrote Robb, Marie, and Trey. And the reason I wrote those three names down is because I think those are the three people that will be entertaining in the future in challenges. I can see Robb just almost being a Wes, or being his own character, but kind of being, you know, the goofy one, but also getting, I mean, we saw tonight how emotional he gets, you know, really quickly, and it can kind of come off very bitchy, you know, but then that kind of washed over. So maybe next week we'll see where that continues. I think Marie, she seems very athletic, so I think she'll do really well. And I mean, that's really an interesting comment, play your role, you know, going into that.
Right.
But finishing with this, you know, let's get into Robb and Marie. Trey, what did you think? You know, Robb and Marie, obviously they have this love situation going on. Then we find out about Emily. Is Robb a hopeless romantic, or is he someone who thinks with his dick? Because 2 weeks before the real world, you know, he says, all of a sudden, now we hear about Emily 2 weeks before this girl changed his life. But then we hear him, you know, in his one-on-ones talking about, you know, there's just something about Marie. She's just changed the way I kind of feel patterns. So is it more the hopeless romantic where he could be, you know, he meets a girl, he connects with her, and it's like, wow, she might be the one. Then he turns around and meets a girl, and she might be the one. Or is it more so, she's here right now, we kick it with each other, let's get it in the bag? Or is it more like you, where he knows, you know, me and Emily really connect, at the end of all this, Marie's not going to be anywhere, and I'm going to go home to Emily?
Well, what we constantly did in the house, Jess, is that we would compare Robb and Marie's relationship to my and Laura's relationship. It was just kind of funny. And what the conclusion that we came to was basically that Marie and I are more similar in our relationships, and Robb and Laura are more similar in their relationships.
Agreed.
So basically, we would joke around, can you imagine if Laura was with Robb, or can you imagine if Marie and I were together? Like, it would be crazy, because if Marie and I were together, you would see a completely dysfunctional relationship where we're constantly arguing all the time, and we're at each other's throats. We can't stand each other, and we're bitching and screaming. And if Laura and Robb were with each other, I mean, it would just be mushy-gushy all the time. They would be too nice to each other. It would be really, really awkward. So Robb is the Laura of that relationship. Robb will do anything for Marie. Robb, as you saw, he tied her shoes in the middle of the street. You know, you'll probably see throughout the rest of the season, she'll be like, Robb, get me a drink, and he'll go in the kitchen and make her a drink, kind of like a slave. Like, and Laura would do the same thing for me. You know, when I was sunburnt, Laura will come up and rub lotion on me or whatever. So Robb babies Marie in the same sense that Laura kind of babied me. And you'll see in one of the episodes, I think 1 or 2, you know, Robb said something like, am I Marie's type? Probably not. You know, so I don't even think she likes redheads. I think in the beginning, Robb kind of had this mentality that maybe Marie was out of his league. Because you hear him talk about Marie, and he's like, man, she's perfect. Look, right. She's got these curves going on. And he kind of thought that he wasn't going to be able to get it. And then when he did, realizing that he probably wasn't normally Marie's type, you know, he really wanted to hold on to it. Because I guarantee you, Maria's from Staten Island, New York. Okay, she comes from an Italian neighborhood. She probably has never dated somebody like Rob. But again, when you're on this island and you're stranded, you know, and you realize that you're going to be spending the next couple months here, it's just easy to get that affection, and you just kind of cling on to people faster than you normally would, you know?
I mean, I definitely agree with that. And it's really interesting because I did think, you know, what if you and Marie had a little thing? I could kind of see it with the whole tomboyish situation she's got going on. But Rob bringing Emily to the house. I know everybody watching this was like, what? Why would you, right, as a guy? I mean, you know, Rob's, how old is Rob?
Rob's 21. He's the baby of the house.
That it is. Okay. So you know what, Rob? I can't even, maybe just not enough experience. But it's either trying to make her jealous, which that's kind of what I thought it was, because I can't imagine why you would bring somebody to the house that you're trying to talk to. Steamer, what did you think about that situation?
What, Rob and...
Rob wanting to bring Emily to the house. Do you think he really wanted her to come out, experience it, or do you think he was doing it to make Marie jealous?
I don't really know. I mean, you always... That's like a staple of the real world. Like the guy or the girl who has somebody back home, they bring them, and like there's a whole awkward situation with that person and the person on the show they're hooking up with. So it's something that has happened before, and you never really know the motives, but you always expect the person who's actually on the show to cheat with their castmate or what have you. It's just the way it goes down, with the exception of last year and Byron and. Drawing a blank on her name.
I mean, there we go. What did you? Oh, I know you really can't talk too much about, you know, what's going on nowadays, but you had a little talk with him on the show. What went through your mind when he was bringing this up? When he came to you and actually sat down and said, "Yeah, you really want to bring Emily around?" And
well, you guys got to remember that I had a girl back at home too. So
right.
That was something that Rob and I were kind of connecting on. You know, he was talking about Emily, meanwhile I was talking about Chelsea. So I think that we both kind of shared that mentality of wanting to bring our respective girl out to the island just to see it. The fact of the matter was, it just so happened at that point in time in the beginning, you know, Rob had already booked her a plane ticket, whereas I had already had it kind of set in my mind that I didn't want Chelsea to really be out there because I was starting to, you know, come on to Laura a little bit more. So I actually related to Rob in a sense, but I mean, you know, you'll have to see the way that it actually turns out.
And I'm very interested to see how that turns out. And we're about to head to a commercial break. And Trey, I want to thank you so much for calling in tonight.
Yeah, no doubt.
Feel free to call in for the future. And when you're out in LA, definitely come by the studio. I know we got to get you in here with Adam so you guys can have a nice little chat.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, man. It's unfortunate I'm calling in tonight. No offense to Steamer, but you know, I was hoping that we had a couple more of your co-hosts on so I could really shoot the shit with them. But I'll get out there eventually, man. I appreciate you having me on, and I saw you reach out to LaToya and Rob tonight as well. Definitely try to get some of my other roommates on here, man, and hopefully they'll give you their side of the story as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Trey, and we will stay in contact, and we will tweet you later. Well, Trey, actually, before you head out, send everyone your Twitter name so everyone can follow you.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, you guys can follow me at MTV Trey. I'm the only person on my cast that put MTV before my name. Everybody else put it at the end. So
there you go. At MTV Trey, Trey. All right, thank you so much, Trey. And Marissa, why don't you take us to a commercial break?
Hey there, good buddies. The handle's Woolly Bear. I'm a truck driving man, but I'm not that old school kind of truck driving man, no. I like to listen to podcasts while I'm driving through these great United States of ours. And my favorite podcasts in the world are from AfterBuzz TV. And why? Because AfterBuzz TV is like a post-game wrap-up show for all your favorite TV shows, like Jersey Shore, Dancing with the Stars, Mad Men, and a whole truckload more. I like listening to my Gossip Girl podcast, catching up with all my fellow fans and getting all the latest news and gossip. No, I got some strong opinions. And AfterBuzz TV lets me share those opinions with thousands of other listeners. Woo-wee, what a feeling. I used to doze off on those lonely stretches of road. And don't worry, I got the cruise control.
but now I'm wide awake and listening to all the AfterBuzz TV goodness. Check them out, give them a holler, and tell them the old Woolly Bear sent you.
All right, and we are back. And before we get started, Watchtower Base made a promo for us. We said we were going to play it last week. Also, we're going to have a raffle or a quiz for you guys in the near future. And you guys can actually win a season signed by some of the castmates from previous Real Worlds of the Real World Las Vegas. So we'll be doing that in probably about 2 weeks from now. But tonight we're going to premiere the promo from Watchtower Base. We really appreciate you making this for us, and let's play that. Brandon, like, oh, Brandon, you know what? You want to write kill, kill, kill? I'm going to write it on the walls. Like, I don't see Brandon. All right, so there we go. We want to thank you so much, Watchtower, for making that preview for us. And Steamer, you're on the line with us still, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. So before we get into our predictions, CSUA Kirk, a huge fan of ours on Twitter, wanted to bring back Stump the Steamer. Now, if you guys watched our challenges, Steamer knows everything about all the challenges. Now, not as knowledgeable in the real world, you said. I caught a tweet of you saying that.
I just bricked on Alex's name, so obviously a little stale.
Well, I think you might be able to get at least a couple of these answers right. So, CSUA Kirk said, the question is, name the last 3 cast members, or at least 2, to have either been kicked off or leave a real world season. And one of them's super obvious.
Yeah, obviously Adam.
Adam Royer is one. I'll give you a hint. One is from the New Orleans cast, and the other is from DC.
Yeah, didn't watch either of those seasons, so.
Excellent. So it's Ryan Leslie and Erica. So, but Steamer, of course, you got Adam Royer. We brought Stump the Steamer back. If you guys can think of any from, you know, this season or last season, I'm sure we can get.
Or somehow figure out the ones that I didn't watch.
Right. Figure out all the ones. If you how about you guys figure out the season Steamer didn't watch, and then we'll send you the DVDs. If you can guess all the seasons Steamer didn't watch. All right. All right. So let's get into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Also, before I get into predictions, interesting fact while I was watching this, because we didn't have fun DirecTV to fast forward through our DVR, I had to watch all the commercials. But I learned an interesting fact, Steamer. Snooki loves Gianni's penis. Just wanted to put that out there. And you guys can check out more of that here at AfterBuzz TV tomorrow during the JWoww and Snooki after show. Really didn't show us too much for next week.
No.
Dead fish prank, which I will say is way better than the peanut butter prank.
Yeah, and the peanut butter prank was kind of whack. It's sitting there all talking up their pranking ability, and that's all you can do is peanut butter.
So maybe this will... Go ahead.
At least the fish is something more advanced than the peanut butter.
And, I mean, don't put it in the bathroom. Put it under, like, the bed, the mattress, or something like that. That would have been...
Yeah.
That would have been choice.
Just throw it on them. Who gives a crap?
Yeah, gut it. Just let's get real dirty with it. And then Swift gets mad. We're gonna see the mean side of Swift next week.
I need to see more Swift.
I was kind of hoping. I'm hoping it's not gonna be over dramatic Swift. I'm hoping it's gonna be like something legit and not over the fish. Yeah. Don't get mad at the fish. I'll be upset if you get mad at the fish. I mean, what else are you thinking that's gonna come out of this season? I'm really crossing my fingers and hoping that Trey and Laura get into a serious argument, fight. I hope that because he slept with her so early, it causes a huge blowout. That's what I'm hoping. What are you thinking? What are you hoping?
I don't know where either of those like couples situations on Ghost, and looking at the cast for the next challenge, all 4 of them are on it. So either there's gonna be some more drama with them, or they're just gonna go in as a couple. But obviously, there's something there that they brought them back for a challenge.
And looking back, you know, I mean, I've been talking about it this whole episode about who I think will be key players for the upcoming challenges. Who would you pick from this?
I think the ones you said, like Trey. Trey's obviously athletic. He seems like level-headed enough. Like he'll be a good competitor on challenges. And Robb, we saw in the first episode, like he's been playing basketball. He has size to him, and once again, he's a character type, so he'll fit in that way as well. Exactly. And for the girls, obviously Laura. So she's definitely
you picked Laura.
Marie too. Like Marie seems like she seems like scrappy. She has like that whole vibe. Like has worked well for like people like Jen in the past. So she's definitely somebody that they'll keep bringing back for more, provided she does good on the one coming up.
See, for me, I think Marie is the more athletic one, whereas Laura will play more of the. They'll put her in the challenges because she's emotional and she stirs up the drama, like that type of. She's to me, Laura's more of the Jen, for me. I don't know.
Wasn't Laura like a lingerie football player? I mean, I don't know how much athletic prowess went into that.
That was Marie, the blonde. But oh no, you're right. That was Laura. Absolutely. Ooh. Interesting. Well, we're done. We'll be back hopefully next week, same time, same place. Guys, get on Twitter. There's numbers going around for this DirecTV thing. Let's call them, tell them to get MTV, Viacom, all these channels back on. Hit us up on iTunes at AfterBuzz TV, Facebook at AfterBuzz TV. You can follow me at DJ Jesse J and Steamer at
the Steamer.
Until next week, same time, same place. Peace.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.